If you have at all been on the internet for the past year, then you must have heard of NFTs. NFTs, or non-fungible tokens, are apparently unique and non-interchangeable units of data stored on blockchains as a form of cryptocurrency, and are bought with Ethereum. Or as Twitter puts it, nothing more than a glorified receipt. And I couldn't agree more. And this is coming from someone who keeps all her receipts from the Dollar Tree. Recently, a cartoon pilot for an NFT show called The Red Ape Family came out, and everyone, including me, is talking about it. Mostly about how bad it is. And if you follow me on Twitter, @TheSoftMink, then you probably know that I am very much anti-NFT, and for reasons that I will get into in the ethics section of this video. But what you need to know for now is that this show exists, its goal is to promote NFTs, and it is not very good. You can consider this a review of the pilot, you can consider this a commentary on the NFT community, I consider it to be the deranged rantings of a madwoman. With that being said, here are my reasons for why the Red Ape Family is the worst cartoon I have ever seen. Now, of course, a show based on a monkey and lion profile pics is not going to have the highest expectations, but in the words of this meme, our expectations were low, but holy fuck! Never before have I seen white pixels on animation vectors, much less animation vectors that are blurry from being resized. How do you make a clearly vector-based cartoon and fuck up the vectors this bad? And the worst part is that I know why these vectors are so fucked up, and it's because they just ripped the assets from the NFTs. Or they just tweened low-quality PNGs. And you know a show is bad when the most impressive part of the animation is an Adobe After Effects filter that has been used before and better by solo animators on YouTube. Like, damn bro, that shading effect would have looked good if Twisted Doctor didn't already make something 10 times as impressive 2 years before you. Also, this is not to drag people that animate by tweening. I adore Gallum Tito's The Stolen Hope reboot, and that's animated via PNG tweening. The difference is that the assets for the Stolen Hope reboot were made to be tweened, and they were made with far more effort than the Red Ape Family's assets. Like, when I see an animation error in the Stolen Hope, I think, oh, a slight error, that must have been from the canvas being a little bit too small. When I see fucking detested in this show, I think that these people are actively involved in money laundering because there's no way that these suspiciously wealthy fucks are spending it on the animation. Look at these dogs in this frame. See how the robo-eye is on the left side? Now look at this frame. Notice something? I swear, the more you watch, the more mistakes and errors you find in the animation. It is insane. This is supposed to be a house shaking. I'm convinced that half of the budget was spent on a Red Room torture session.
Well, I'm the Joker, baby!
The weirdest part is that these characters' assets are taken from different NFTs with different art styles. Here are two of our main characters together. This is why we don't just rip random assets to make your cartoons. These are two completely different art styles. What the fuck? The lip sync is janky and off-putting, mainly because they don't actually animate lip sync. They just put different expressions to the voice lines. I did not see a single proper lip sync frame, just pre-existing expressions. You could animate a mouth opening and closing, and it would still look better than this shit. And after looking into the studio and how they couldn't even be fucked to pay $10 for some music from Audio Jungle, when making an advertisement for Del Monte, it's obvious that they couldn't do something as basic as making proper animation rigs or lip syncs. They're a bunch of cheap shills. Now, with a majority of my thoughts on the animation out of the way, let's talk about the voice acting. This section is going to be a bit short, mainly because I have way more experience in art than I do in voice acting. However, I feel like the problem with the voice acting is fairly obvious. If the voices are not infuriatingly annoying, then they are either beyond boring or incomprehensible. Let's start with the first voice we hear in the episode, that being Dr. Niwadi.
Are these Yetis stupid or what?
Hey Chucky, man's not hot, Chucky.
Oh, well that is not good. Yeah, this is a problem. Well, what about the main character, Chucky?
Gold, I ain't seen that shit in years.
Oh. Yeah, like I said before, the voice acting is bad if it's not borderline offensive, it's painfully generic, or it's incomprehensible. The voice acting is most clearly stunted because of the extremely stilted animation. However, good animation can only help so much. The voice actors barely put any emotion into their lines, and when they do, it's awkwardly forced. The fact that none of these VAs have done anything before this show also makes me think that none of these people have any experience in voice acting. And since I could not find who Fugo or Slim are on IMDb, those two are just some fucks that bought the NFT characters they voiced. Not to mention that the cast list didn't even state who voiced who, so I don't even fucking know who the fucking cartoon monkeys are voiced by. And as I said before, some of the voices are borderline illegible, such as this guy who gives people gravity shoes.
Apes, what a sexy surprise. Shoe sizes and body weights, please, my darlings. Get them wrong, and you'll float away. And die. We're doing 2-for-1 discounts on gravity shoes for the little one.
I've seen that multiple other people have had trouble even understanding what this guy is saying. I could only understand it because I'm used to hearing people talk through vibrato effects and G notes.
Stand and unfold yourself. Long live the king!
And with the animation and the voice acting out of the way, let's talk about the writing. The writing in this show is some of the most inconsistent, nonsensical garbage I have ever seen. I'm dead serious. The way it jumps from plot point to plot point without any proper transition is absurd. I'm going to break down my thoughts into two sections: the story and the characters. Let's start with the reasons the main story of this episode is awful. Perhaps the worst part being the pacing. The story jumps from scene to scene with barely any attempt for a proper transition. 1 minute we're in space, the next we're in a museum, the next we're at a house, and the next we're back in space. The pacing in this cartoon is a fucking nightmare. We spend most of this episode in a fucking airport, and it just ends with a 2-minute credit sequence. We spend more time with 2 random billionaire ape NFTs than we do setting up the main conflict of the show. It also takes multiple watches to understand what is even going on. Most certainly a problem that comes with the train wreck that is the pacing. Not to mention that this isn't a new story or cartoon concept. It's basically an animated comedy about a family with their weird friend and neighbors. It's basically a Seth MacFarlane show, but with cartoon monkeys on Mars. The characters, even for a pilot, are incredibly flat. Most of the characters don't go beyond 3 character traits at tops, which is not very good. Compare that to the Hell of a Boss pilot, which made an active effort to establish the characters. In fact, let's compare the main characters, shall we? Starting with Blitz. From the pilot, we know that he works in the assassin's business with the rest of the characters. He is very foul-mouthed. He cares very much about Luna. He has little respect for Moxie. He's a bit crafty and promiscuous as he gets the book from, coitus with Stolas.
To choke on that red of yours.
He is selfish/self-centered, greedy, and finds joy in the suffering of others. Great character, horrible person. In contrast, let's see how many traits we can see in the Red Ape family's main character, Chucky. From this episode, we know that Chucky drops the F-bomb a lot, is supposed to be cool, and has a bit of an ego. Yeah, that's about it! Yeah, like I said before, most of the characters don't go beyond 3 character traits at tops. I think Winky has the most traits, being 4. She is smart, sarcastic, short-tempered, and cares about her kids. Keep in mind, Winky is the exception, not the rule. Most of the other characters barely have 3. Dr. Niwadi's only character traits are voring people and complaining about the consequences of said war. Yes, I'm lumping in the cholesterol and the fucking bitching about being told not to do that together. Fight me in the comments! Caesar's only trait is that he likes Shakespeare. Hunky doesn't even get scenes to establish his character. The pilot is just British, dead, and hates Yetis. I don't even want to talk about the fucking skull and the dog! Actually, the dog is fine. He just needs to be there. I hope I have gotten across that the characters in this show are borderline non-existent, even for something as short as this. I have seen 30-second cutscenes that establish characters better. And with all of that, the animation errors, the shoddy voice acting, the inconsistent story, the borderline non-existent characters, I could forgive all that and just pass it off as another shitty webtoon. I could forgive all of that if it was not for the fact that the concept of this show is ethically bankrupt. Alright, so brief content/trigger warning for discussions of habitat destruction. So, we all know that this show is no better than a cheap cash grab, but let's talk about why supporting this show is an ethical problem. The first one being that it is horrible for the environment. I'm not gonna beat around the bush. These stupid fucking monkey images emit almost 1,700 kilograms of CO2. That is equivalent to an EU resident's electricity consumption for 77 years. You would have to drive 838 kilometers to reach that amount in a car. Not even 3 years ago, Australia experienced perhaps the worst wildfires in human history, and these fires destroyed almost 46 million acres of land and killed or harmed 3 billion animals. Our planet is, well, I don't want to say dying, because this planet has been through worse, but it is not doing good. Not to mention that the business behind NFTs has no fucking moral limits, because art theft is extremely common in NFT spaces. There are numerous cases of artists having their artwork stolen and sold as NFTs without their knowledge or consent. These crypto fucks have even resorted to hacking the accounts of Japanese artists with phishing emails and using the stolen accounts to promote crypto and NFTs. Literal scumbag behavior. And going off script, but not to mention that these sorts of NFT traders have even used art from dead people as NFTs. Art from dead people without the family's knowledge or consent being sold as NFTs. Let me tell you something. If you buy an ingot of gold, you have a physical object that you can hold in your hand and later on exchange for regular currency. If you buy a painting from an auction, you have that physical painting that you can either hang on the wall or sell to another person. If you commission a piece from an artist, you get a custom piece and you support an artist. Even if you just buy an adoptable, you are still supporting an artist by buying their work directly. If you buy an NFT, all you get is a glorified digital receipt that fucks over the environment for a randomly generated monkey JPEG. Think about it. Is it really worth the money, the ethical, and the environmental cost? If you say yes, please move outside the Goldilocks zone. I think it's more than obvious that I do not like this show. The animation is ugly and broken. The voice acting is worse than an amateur web series made by kids. The story is a complete mess. The characters are borderline non-existent, it's horrible for the environment, and the NFT business is morally bankrupt. There's no upside to this cartoon even existing. It is a dangerous waste of space. There is no good reason to support this show. It is completely devoid of any meaningful value. If you want to support artists, commission them for a piece. If you want to support animation, watch series like Hell of a Boss and the Stolen Hope reboot. And if you want to invest, just invest in stocks. It's a time-tested method and it doesn't have nearly the same environmental effects. Thank you for watching. Subscribe or I will remove your centrioles. Also, maybe because only 4% of you guys are subbed, and subbing will allow you to catch all of my uploads whenever I do upload. I'm also streaming on Twitch, so if you want to see me play some video games, then check that out. If you want to see me post art and shit posts, and check out my Tumblr, DeviantArt, Newgrounds, and now Twitter. If you want to see whips of my art, then follow me on Instagram. I've got an AO3 page, so if you want to see me try my hand at writing, eventually, you can check that out. And if you want to hang out with me and other cool people, then join my Discord server. All of this will be linked in the description below. And if I can be real with you, off script, I'm going to be moving away from commentary entirely. Mainly because I no longer feel happy making commentary content. I mean, I may return to stuff like Dice, more out of morbid curiosity than anything, but I'm gonna be moving this channel towards more art and gaming stuff. So, more stuff that I want to do instead of just commentary call-out stuff. You feel me? So, if you're willing to be sticking around for that, then by all means, please stay for the new content coming. I told you I was going off script with this. But I hope that even with this no longer doing commentary stuff, I hope that you'll still be ready to support my content in any way that you like. This is TheSoftMink, signing out.